The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Charity Bialas spent months fighting for safety, submitting pleas, fearing for her children's lives after documented abuse by her husband. She sought full custody in a painful divorce, the final hearing coming just one day before the unthinkable. On December 3rd, law enforcement discovered her body and the bodies of her 6-year-old twin son and daughter, shot dead in their own home. A welfare check turned into a nightmare. For a family begging for protection, the thin promises of the system collapsed into a deadly silence. Now, a community mourns, demanding answers, while innocence lies cold in the dark. Will Charity's ex be arrested? Tonight, we take a look. Meanwhile, in a crowded Manhattan courtroom, Luigi Mangione sat at counsel table with his supporters in the gallery as surveillance video played. Images of a sidewalk and some of the immediate aftermath that we haven't seen before. Prosecutors say that video captures him committing the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. But his defense argues the evidence seized from Mangione was obtained after unconstitutional searches. This suppression hearing, swelling now to more than a week, will define what the jury sees at trial as both sides prepare for that big moment. We'll break down the video with our experts as we take a look at the latest in this saga. But first, when 22-year-old Rebecca Park disappeared in early November, many hoped it was a horrific misunderstanding. 3 weeks later, her body was found deep in Michigan forest. She was 38 weeks pregnant. Investigators say she'd been lured to the woods by relatives, stabbed and forced to lie wounded while her unborn child was brutally cut from her womb. Both lives lost in a brutal act of betrayal. The community's grief turned to outrage, signs reading "Justice for Rebecca" line the streets, and prayers for her unborn baby fill the air. A family destroyed, innocence stolen in darkness. Tonight, the latest gruesome details from this tragic investigation. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us. Let's talk about the concept of adoption. And you think about this concept, it's amazing when it works, right? Absolutely amazing. You have a child who's in a situation where the child cannot survive. Either you have parents who can't take care of the child, parents who don't want to take care of the child, parents who are really young, parents who may have lost their lives. And then another family steps forward and says, I'll raise that child as my own. I will replace the biological family that's unable to do the job. I'll step in, raise the child, provide for the child, nurture that child into adulthood. And we've seen it over and over again. There are so many incredible stories out there about how adoption works. Let's talk about Rebecca Park. She was adopted as a child, raised by an adoptive family, and they cared for her. They loved her. They took her from being a child who was in a really bad situation and gave her a life and an opportunity. But something else we know about adoption. When children get to a certain age, they wonder about their biological family. They wonder about their biological mom. Do they have any siblings? And if you're like me and you're online and you see some of these stories where children are reunited with their biological families and they learn the stories, the struggles, the sacrifice, and then there's this incredible reunion, the warmth just oozing off of the screen, right? Those stories are amazing too. And then when the families can all get along together, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, I get it. Courtney is Rebecca's mom. Rebecca got reunited with Courtney. It's not one of those videos that you watch on your phone. It's not one of those stories. It'll make you cry, but for all the wrong reasons. Courtney and her husband are the ones accused of murder. The murder of Rebecca, who just wanted to be reunited with her biological mother. And that reunion resulted in her death, the death of the child she was carrying for 38 weeks. This is awful. Take a look. I'm going to share with you part of the probable cause affidavit. There's a lot of details in there, but here's some of the things that it seems the accused are admitting here. Eventually, Courtney admitted that she cut the baby out of Rebecca in an attempt to save him so she could take him to Rich, who is Rebecca's fiance. What? When she cut the baby, think about this, she's cutting out her own grandchild. When she cut the baby out, Courtney said that Rebecca was still conscious. Oh my. And Bradley, who's her husband, was holding the knife to her throat. She told Rebecca to lay back, your baby is going to die. Once the baby was out, she said Bradley slit Rebecca's throat with the knife. Bradley said that the baby stayed in the cooler that night on the back porch. Think about that now. The baby that's cut out is put in a cooler on the back porch. He now reported it was Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, when the items were placed into dumpsters, specifically because Thursday was garbage day. That's how this reunion went for Rebecca with her biological mother, who's now accused of murdering her, taking the life of her unborn grandchild, Rebecca's baby. I want to get some more information from this. Joining us, anchor and reporter for 9 and 10 News in Cadillac, Michigan, Jody Measen's back with us. Jody, great to have you back. Thank you so much. I want to get to some parts of the rest of the story, but I think one thing to me that's not super clear, and I think the folks watching would want a little clarity, if there is clarity, because it's a confusing situation. The nature of these relationships in Rebecca's life, her biological mom, the stepfather, her fiance, and her sister, who has also been arrested and charged in relation to some of the activities here. What can you tell us about the relationships here of those folks and Rebecca?
You know, when you're pouring through the court documents, what's really interesting is that this is just a really messy case. There seems to be, I mean, Kimberly Park also mentioned having a sexual relationship with Richard Thaler. Courtney also mentioned in those court documents that she had a sexual relationship with Richard at some point. And she actually said that that was part of the motive. She's accusing that Bradley is the one that actually murdered Rebecca, and the only thing that she did was try to save the baby. So she was trying to play it off as this was kind of a revenge plot, and that Bradley was also upset about Richard turning him in for a crime that he ended up doing some jail time for. But it's hard to wrap your mind around the fact that there's all these relationships going on that you wouldn't think that a biological mom or a sister would do to a family member.
Messy, I think, is the best way to describe it, Jody. When you say messy, I think that's the best way to describe it. So who's the father of the baby?
Supposedly Richard. That's what we were told. I don't think Becca, as far as I know, she wasn't having other relationships. It seems like Richard was the one having relationships with other people, and Courtney as well. She was married. Now, she was, at some point, was going to get a divorce from Bradley, but she stopped those proceedings right before those were supposed to happen. So, yeah, the court documents, I got to tell you, they were worse than what we actually imagined. Now, Courtney, at one point, she did mention that they actually didn't take the baby until after Rebecca was dead, but then later on, she admitted that Rebecca was alive. So it's really hard to wrap your mind around everything that's going on. There's a lot of conflicting statements. If you look through the documents themselves, the story seems to change from time to time. So I know that they had their probable cause conference hearings today, but those were actually delayed for Bradley and Courtney to give the prosecutor more time to go through the evidence because there is so much of it and there's so many conflicting statements.
Conflicting statements, confusing relationships. How about Rebecca and her sister? What did they have any relationship growing up? Do we know? Is it? Yeah. Did they meet only as adults, or they knew each other growing up?
They are, you know, Kimberly herself had told me at one point that there's like 3 days out of the year that they're the same age. So they're really close in age. They were adopted together. Now, Becca was 1 year old at the time, and they had an older brother that was adopted along with Kimberly Becca. So they grew up together, and according to the parents that adopted them, the mom says that they were really close.
And what is the adoptive family saying about all of this? What is their take on this? Because, you know, you raise this child, she ends up in adulthood, and then this tragic reunion takes place and turns into a murder. What are they saying?
This was something I think they were trying to prevent. They said that they were dangerous people. They'd been harassed by them over the years, and they were just trying to protect their children. And when she turned 18, she sought them out on their own. But when all this happened, the mom, I don't think she was surprised. You would think that someone would be surprised by something so horrific, but, you know, it sounds like the mom has her reasons for thinking that these were dangerous people that her daughter should never have been involved with. And that's why she kept them away from them for all those years.
And do we know how long Rebecca was reunited with her mom before she ends up getting killed?
Well, she was 22 when this all happened, and the mom says that when she turned 18 is when she sought them out. And they had a rocky relationship, though. I mean, even Courtney has said that, and other people have said that as well, that they had a rocky relationship.
And what do we look forward to next in this case and as it proceeds forward? What's the next big event that's going to take place?
So Kimberly, the half-sister, she has not been charged with any crimes related to the murder of Becca. She has been charged with lying to police. She gave them a couple of different stories. She even put the blame on Richard, saying that Richard and another man had killed Becca and taken the body. But at some point, she had also said that it was Courtney and Bradley that killed Becca, and then there was another guy that took the body away. So her story changed quite a bit. And like I said, she did have a relationship with Richard. Not really sure why she was telling all these tales. According to the court documents, she knew what had happened to Becca when she was telling these tales.
Jody Meeson, 9 and 10 news anchor, Cadillac, Michigan. Always appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much, and we'll speak again.
Yep, her probable cause conference got delayed till December, next Tuesday, the 16th. And then just for the Bartholomew's, they will have their probable cause hearing in January. Those were delayed to give the prosecutor, like I said earlier, more time to go through all the evidence.
All right. Thanks so much, Jody.
All right. Thank you.
All right, let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight, criminal defense attorney, former head prosecutor, county prosecutor Bob Bianchi in New Jersey, along with attorney Ali Benevento and national parenting and family relationship expert, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Bob, I usually start with you, but we got to start with Dr. Sue tonight just to get some sort of handle on this family dynamic, which is so incredibly tragic for this, for Rebecca, who reunites with her mom, and then 4 years later is allegedly murdered by her mom and has her baby cut out of her stomach by her mom.
Well, isn't that ironic? Like, if you think about this psychologically, for me, it's that she was given up, so Becca was taken away from her. Now the mother's going to take away her own daughter's baby. That, if you think about it psychologically, that's how I see it. But Vinnie, this was a tragic loss here. And like you said at the beginning, oftentimes they will seek out their biological parents, but not knowing what they are going to find when they meet them. And I think that was a case of this. I think Becca got caught up and possibly entangled in all of the craziness that was going on between all of these people. I often wonder if drugs was involved, what was going on here that it could lead to something like this. But what a loss.
Yeah, Bob, this is a messy one.
Yeah, Vinnie, my feeling on it is if I were prosecuting or investigating this case, and I'm glad you started with Dr. Sue, because I think that's where I'd actually start. There's a lot of conflicting information. We don't know a lot. The people have all sorts of twisted and tangled motives. The crime is absolutely atrocious by standards of a former homicide prosecutor that deals with that or dealt with that for a substantial part of their career. But I often turn to the FBI at certain times and either ask their profilers to give me an idea of what are we dealing with here? What could be the potential, motivations? And as a prosecutor, I'm concerned. Obviously, you don't need motive to prove your case, but I want to know what the motive is here, and I want to find that body. I want to find that baby's body. I don't know. One of the things that just jumped out at me, and I know this is like, every now and again, like when you're investigating, you got to have a wide net, and you got to throw things out there. Like I was wondering, is this just torture for the sake of torture, which it could be, or was there an attempt to sell this body of this baby? Because it wouldn't be the first time that people tried to sell the baby by cutting it out of the mother. Who knows?
Allie, this one, there's different ways to approach it and look at it. The bottom line is you put this in front of a jury, whoever's in the defendant's chair is getting convicted. Like, they're not walking out of the courtroom. Not after this happens to this woman and to the baby. But what's your takeaway from this whole scenario?
Well, there's no doubt that a jury is going to look at the horrific nature of the crime, and it's going to be very difficult, but it's going to depend who's sitting in that chair at the defense table. You have multiple people that are involved here. You have her sister, who's clearly not saying everything that she knows. Her biological mother, who is admitted to having a horrific part in what's happened. And then there's this weird, I don't even know if I want to call it a love triangle. I think it's a love square, where you have the sister, the biological mother, and then the victim, all involved with the same individual who does have a history of drug use. And so to Dr. Sue's point earlier, yes, I do think when you say it's messy, I think it might be methy. And no, I'm not speaking with a lisp. I think that, perhaps the only explanation for this type of horrific, crazy behavior might just be drug use. And I don't know if that goes all the way around. But, I think that, yes, a jury is going to look at this. It's going to be incredibly difficult. But I do think, to your question, it depends on whose trial we're talking about. Because, again, we've got multiple people involved.
Yeah, I just put them all there at the same time. Do what I can to get them all sitting at the same table. They can point the fingers at each other. But at the end of the day, no jury. I can't imagine a jury letting people walk. This is so horrific. And you've got some level of admission. It's confusing, but you do have admissions. All right, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we've got some new photographs in the Luigi Mangione case. We'll show you that evidence, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she was a promising Texas A&M student with her whole future ahead. But hours after a tailgate, Brianna Aguilera was found dead, and police called it a suicide. Her family and their lawyers say the story doesn't add up. What really happened that night in the West Campus high-rise? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
It's not really an emergency. I'm a manager at Plank Road McDonald's out here on the Boulevard.
Okay.
And I have a customer here that some other customers were suspicious of, that he looks like the CEO shooter from New York.
Okay.
So they're just really upset, and they're like coming to me, and I was like, well, I can't approach them, you know?
No, of course not.
Yeah, don't approach him. Extremely dangerous. Accused killer on the run. The McDonald's, they recognized him. How did they recognize him? This was eyebrows. They recognized him. I want you to take a look now. After the 911 call, obviously police respond, and now we're seeing the video, the body camera video of this interaction of police and Mangione at the McDonald's when he is captured. Take a look.
Yes, sir. There you go. Can you put your mask on real quick for me? Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. What's your name? Mark. What is it? Mark. Mark? Yes, sir. Mark what? Rosario. Rosario? Someone called. They thought you were suspicious. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have your ID on you? Yeah, yes, sir. Thanks. Thought she looked like someone, guilty to run. Player 6, 2729 out of New Jersey. We got New York. Romeo 6807 521 07982. Should come back for a month. Rosianna.
Really interesting moment, right? You got to go back in time to remember what this story was like. This was a nationwide manhunt. It was the top story everywhere. This is a guy accused of assassinating a CEO, obviously presumed to be armed and dangerous. And there he is being approached for the very first time, giving a fake name. So he's in court now trying to get a whole bunch of evidence suppressed, kept out of the trial, because he believes his constitutional rights are violated. It's the only chance he has, because this evidence that we're taking a look at tonight overwhelmingly points to him. So they just don't want the jury to see it and not consider it. And that's like the only chance he has here, in addition to, of course, jury nullification. If some juror, for whatever reason, just doesn't want to convict an accused assassin. Take a listen to Alex Miller from Scripps News Group, who was at the courthouse today as this hearing continues. She has the latest for us tonight.
It's been 1 year since Luigi Mangione's arrest, and the officer who read him his Miranda warnings at an Altoona McDonald's was on the stand defending his actions surrounding the apprehension. Officer Stephen Fox fielding questions from Mangione's attorney Karen Friedman Agnifilo Tuesday afternoon about how quickly he read him his warnings and the search of Mangione's backpack. Fox was one of the more vocal officers, asking Mangione why he lied about his ID and if he was going to find anything in Mangione's backpack. Fox told Agnifilo he did the search because he was concerned about a bomb in Mangione's bag. Mangione's attorneys are arguing he was not properly read his Miranda warnings, therefore violating his Fourth Amendment rights, and they say his bag was also searched without a warrant. Whether that search was done lawfully is at the center of these hearings. The court also learned more about comments Mangione made that day. Fox said Mangione was concerned about the 911 caller's name getting out and wanted to make sure it was protected. As Fox escorted Mangione, he realized he was walking too fast for the newly shackled 20-something. Fox apologized, and Mangione said, "It's okay, I'm going to have to get used to it." Fox also said after his arraignment, Mangione said, quote, "All of these people are here for a mass murderer? Wild." Mangione took copious notes and regularly spoke with his attorneys throughout the hearing. Court resumes Thursday morning. Alex Miller, Scripps News Group, New York.
All right, Think Tank's still with us. This is like the whole case, obviously, but this evidence, the more you see, the more incriminating it is, Bob. At the end of the day, like, all the evidence points to this guy and this guy only.
Okay, so it's a rock-solid case, Vinny. From the beginning of this, I've been concerned about two issues. Again, I'm the concerned, paranoid prosecutor. The first is where we are right now, the search. I mean, I've been on these scenes a lot of times. I'm not second-guessing. I'm just saying, and I've been getting a lot of blowback and comments from people. The best practice is to get the search warrant because the Constitution requires it. People are saying, why? He's a murderer. The Constitution requires that you do it unless there's an exception to the search warrant. And now we're here in this hearing. Had they just gotten the warrant, you wouldn't be given a free crack to the defense attorneys to cross-examine the police officers and to create a spectacle and to give this guy more public attention. Nevertheless, that said, there are exceptions to the search warrant requirement. And in this particular case, I think they're making a good case that they could be concerned that what's in that backpack could have immediately affected the safety, welfare, could be a bomb, could be a booby trap, could be a lot of things. So I think they're going to get by. My secondary problem that I've got with this case, been there. I know without a doubt it's happening. No one's talking about it, but it's the elephant in the room if you've ever done this work. The battle going on between the jurisdictions, federal and state prosecutors, who I assure you are in a tug of war over all sorts of things. Who goes first? Who's primarily responsible? What happens to the evidence? How is the evidence going to be evaluated? And by the way, different search and seizure laws that apply with regard to it and different punishments. So hopefully everyone's playing well in the sandbox and prosecutors have an actual plan about how to go forward. Last point, if this evidence is suppressed in any way, shape, or form in the state court, you can be assured federal prosecutors will step in and take it from there.
Yeah, they have to. Another thing, Allie, we got to see the surveillance video again. We've seen pieces of it, but a little bit of a different angle. I want to play that right now as we're taking a look at it. Some of the things that strike me are there's people on the streets, and then these people are witnessing this execution, this assassination. To me, their role in all of this, yeah, we've got video, but to make it much more real, I think you've got to bring in all those witnesses to talk about that day, that moment a human life is taken. Because my biggest fear here for prosecutors, besides this hearing, is this jury nullification issue, where some juror is going to believe that they hate insurance companies, so we allow people to execute CEOs. So you've got to make this much more real, I think.
Yeah, but Vinny, don't you think that that actually runs the risk of exacerbating that potential problem? If jury nullification is a real threat in this case, and I do believe that this is, if there is a poster case for that, this is one. You run the risk of repeatedly showing this footage and getting all of the people who have supported Luigi Mangione from the very beginning thinking or assuming that he's guilty. And just to be clear, he's accused. He has not been found guilty. But there are people who believe that he's guilty and believe that he was justified in taking the life of Brian Thompson. And so by repeatedly showing this footage, you run the risk of actually hyping up the people who are going to support him, who may potentially sit on a jury someday and say, you know what, good, I'm glad that he did it. Now, I don't know that to be the case, but I do think that they run the risk by continuously showing this footage and getting people amped up all over again.
Yeah, I want the people who were there that day, who witnessed the taking of a life on the streets of New York, to tell the jury what they saw, what they heard, what they felt, how scary that all was and how real it was. Because I feel, and I'm with you on this, Allie, I think if you see the video, there's almost a desensitization of the whole thing that, oh, this is like a TV show, he's some CEO, I don't even know who he is, he's not a real person. That woman there holding the coffee, look how close she is to the line of fire here. And she had to, like, try to get away from all of this as she realizes what is happening. We've got more new information and evidence that we're getting to see. The red notebook, here it is, which was taken from that backpack. They don't want the jury to hear what he's writing in the notebook, what he is saying. We've also got his travel plans. This is interesting. You take a look at this. Check Pittsburgh, red eyes. Ideally to Columbus or Cincinnati, get off early. Keep momentum. FBI, slow overnight. Break cam continuity. 3+ hours off cam. Exit different method. Example, megabus, rail. Check reports for current situation. And then he's got a little drawing of a map. And then here, Dr. Sue, is the to-do list from the 5th. Buy black shorts, white stripe, too distinctive. Change hat, shoes. Pluck eyebrows.
No.
That was on his list. Pluck the eyebrows. He knew that these eyebrows would stick out. Take a bus to Penn Station. Taxi to UPS.
He had to look good.
Right? Why didn't he pluck the eyebrows? He put it on his list, and that's how he got caught at the McDonald's.
Well, Vinnie, I mean, he had to look good, right? When he was ever going to get arrested for this. Look, to me, this is, a narcissist, sociopath who was planning this out for a long time, how he was going to get away with this. And it is such a sick act of what he did. And, that video that they keep showing of him standing there, are people realizing that he shot somebody in cold blood in the back? I mean, what is there to cheer about in terms of that? This is what we're seeing today as a world and as humanity, as people. It's sickening to me. It was premeditated. It was in that book. He was planning all of his escapes and, plucking his eyebrows so when he was arrested, he could look good.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right.
Pathetic.
We're out of time for today on this one, but obviously the conversation continues. The hearing continues. When we come back, a doctor's wife and children are shot and killed in her home. No arrests, but there's a little bit of a history with the doctor husband.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Take a look at this photo, these beautiful twins and their mom, Charity, gone, dead, shot and killed in their own home. And I'm going to give you some of the details surrounding this and what was going on in her life and what everyone is thinking about tonight. We begin with this from the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office in Arkansas. December 3rd, 9:30 a.m., receive a call about a welfare check. So they go to the house. Law enforcement could not get any response from the residents and continue to investigate. They entered the home. Upon entering, they found 3 deceased individuals, a mother and 2 deceased children. It was apparent that the 3 had gunshot wounds. The woman was identified as Charity Bialas, age 40. All 3 sent to the crime lab for autopsy to determine exact cause of death. Then an update on the 9th. Search warrants, 12 search warrants in progress. 6 search warrants have been served. More warrants could be pending. Interviews, numerous interviews have taken place with more pending upon information obtained through tips. Voluminous number of tips have been received. Each lead is being actively pursued. A large amount of evidence has been collected, either processed or being processed. And autopsy results are still pending. However, Charity's father and surviving son from another relationship, he's an adult, spoke to KNWA about who they believe is responsible for this triple homicide.
Randall Bialas, he's a powerful and evil man. All he cares about is money and himself.
There was nobody else in the world that had any reason to harm her or those babies but him, and that was only for financial gain and for the hatred that he had.
They're pointing the finger at Randall Bialas. Now, the New York Post has some more information about this. I want to give it to you. Prominent Arkansas doctor, that's Randall, that denies that he had anything to do with the deaths of his estranged wife and 2 young children, and is heartbroken after their bodies were found at his home in the middle of a bitter divorce battle, his lawyers said. Dr. Randall Bialas previously pleaded guilty to domestic violence after choking his wife Charity at their $760,000 home in Bonanza back in March. He has not been arrested or charged in relation to the murders. Mr. Bialas was not responsible for the death of Mrs. Bialas nor his children's death, the attorney told the Post. Mr. Bialas has been cooperative with law enforcement and fully supports the sheriff's investigation. We hope the sheriff finds out the truth about what happened to Mrs. Charity Bialas and their children. He added that his client had given a voluntary interview and allowed access to anything requested by the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office in their investigation. Let's bring back in our think tank, Bob Bianchi, Ali Benevento, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. It's like a day after this bitter hearing, Ali, when she gets shot and killed and her children shot and killed. What are your thoughts tonight?
Rough facts, rough timeline. Everybody knows that husbands and boyfriends are typically popular suspects. And then, of course, the timing couldn't be worse for all things pointing towards this doctor. I'll be very curious to hear some of the details that come forward. It sounds like the police are working hard, interviewing a lot of people. It kind of makes you wonder what's going on here. I have a feeling that police probably know more than they're letting out publicly. They may be watching the doctor, the husband, to kind of see what his reactions are to some of the news, some of the information being released. But that's a tough one. You're the husband, you have 2 dead children, dead wife, and it was a day after your divorce hearing. Doesn't look good.
Dr. Sue.
Yeah, so I agree with Allie here. It does not look good for him. You know, Vinnie, I work in this field every single day with divorced couples, and you see a lot of domestic violence go on in these relationships. Does it always mean that the domestic violence leads to death? No, but a lot of times it is a precursor for that. So I think, what troubles me the most in a lot of these cases is that these women are reporting domestic violence, and they're being told in different states that if he doesn't threaten to kill you, then there's nothing that we really can do about it. But at the end of the day, if he is guilty, no restraining order or PFA or anything is ever going to stop a man from doing something like this. My heart breaks for this family, these beautiful children, and this beautiful woman.
Bob, we have about 20 seconds to wrap this up.
Today's domestic violence is tomorrow's murder case, but I will tell you, there have been 2 cases exactly like this that I've handled in my career. Prosecutors jumped to conclusions. They got a dot I's, cross T, eliminate other suspects, because in those 2 cases, they pointed to the husband in the middle of an acrimonious divorce, and they were wrong. And it's somebody other than the husband serving life sentences. So be careful, prosecutors. Don't jump to conclusions.
Fantastic job, as always, Bob Bianchi, Ali Benevento, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Thank you so much. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, at just 19, Brianna Aguilera was driven, loved, and gone too soon. Authorities say a deleted note, phone logs, and video proves she fell by her own hand from a 17-story balcony. Yet her mother and family attorney believe something darker may be hidden in the shadows. Can the truth still be uncovered before silence wins? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at our big board. Trial day 7. Yes, keeping you up to date every night on what's happening in the case of Brian Walsh, accused of the murder of his wife, Anna, whose body has never been found, but he's the one who admits he got rid of it. Oh, here he is a few days afterwards, smiling for the camera, fixing his hair with his child, doing some shopping over at Lowe's. Oh, my, this dude. All right, so let's take a look at some of the testimony from today.
It's fair to say, without going down an exhaustive list, that there were numerous items found in Cohasset that had apparently never been used for any purpose. They were still, in, for lack of a better phrase, brand new, unused condition.
From what I recall, but I didn't specifically look at each and every item.
Okay. It's fair to say that in no report that you wrote did you ever use the phrase blood spatter or anything similar to blood splatter, correct?
Correct.
And so it's fair to say that you did not determine that what you saw anywhere in the house was indicative of blood spatter evidence, correct?
That is correct.
What is item 9-32.1.1?
That is a sample of an interior sleeve cuff of a Tyvek suit that was found in bag number 6 at 300 Forest Street.
And what was the DNA profile result for this item?
The DNA profile for this item was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 4.8 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. The DNA profile from this item is at least 100 trillion times more likely if it originated from Brian Walsh and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals.
What is item 16-13.1?
This was an unknown tissue that recovered from the Swampscott dumpster.
And what was the DNA profile result for this item?
This was a female DNA profile originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 30 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh than if it originated from an unknown unrelated individual.
What is item 7-10.3.1?
This was a sample of stained area C on the blade of a hacksaw. The DNA profile from this item is at least 30 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh than if it originated from an unknown unrelated individual.
What is item 9-22.1.1?
That is sample from stain A on a white towel number 1 with red-brown stains on it that was found in bag number 2 at 300 Forest Street. The DNA profile from this item is at least 30 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Anna Walsh than from an unknown unrelated individual.
What was item 9-20.1?
That was sample from stain A on tape with apparent gauze with red-brown stains on it found in bag number 2 at 300 Forest Street. The DNA profile is at least 23 octillion times more likely if it originated from Brian Walsh than if it originated from an unknown unrelated individual, and this provides support that Brian Walsh is included as a contributor to this DNA profile.
And what's the explanation going to be from Brian Walsh? Well, we know what it is, right? This case is, yeah. I dismembered her body, I got rid of it, but I didn't kill her. She died on her own. So all of this all this evidence you're looking at, this is all after she died. This is just me getting rid of the body. I didn't kill her, but I got rid of the body because I panicked. That's the defense. I still don't understand how anyone could buy it, but it seems, based on all this evidence, right, it's the only defense you can, quote, go with. All right, folks, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Mercedes Akira Guest. Mercedes is missing from Garland, Texas, just 16 years old. If you see Mercedes, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. Now, she may be in the local area. She may have traveled to other cities in Texas. So if you do see her, though, pick up that phone, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Garland Police Department or the Midlothian Police Department. We have those numbers on your screen for you tonight. Let's see if we can get Mercedes to a safe place. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.